Glass shattered across the marble floor as the little boy screamed, "Leave me alone." The crystal vase hit the wall beside him and exploded into fragments. "Liam!" Adrian Waverly's voice thundered through the hallway, but his son bolted up the staircase, wild-eyed and shaking. The nanny who'd been hired 3 weeks ago stood frozen, her face pale. "I can't do this anymore," she whispered, grabbing her purse. "He needs help, not me." Adrian didn't stop her as she ran out. He just stood there, chest rising and falling, surrounded by silence and shards of glass. The sound of his own breathing felt too loud in that cold, perfect mansion. That was Thursday. By Monday, rain hammered against the floor-to-ceiling windows of the Waverly estate as another taxi pulled up to the gate. Naomi Carter stepped out, her natural hair pulled back in a simple bun, her brown eyes taking in the sprawling California mansion that looked more like a fortress than a home. She carried one suitcase and a canvas bag filled with children's books, her grandmother's recipe cards, and a worn teddy bear she'd had since childhood. The housekeeper, Mrs. Chen, opened the door before Naomi could knock. "You're the new nanny." "Yes, ma'am." Naomi Carter. Mrs. Chen's expression was a mixture of pity and warning. "Come in, quickly, before you change your mind." She ushered Naomi inside, water dripping from her coat onto marble so white it looked untouched by human feet. "Mr. Waverly is in a meeting. I'll show you to your quarters and introduce you to Liam." "How is he?" The older woman's face softened with genuine sadness. "He's 6 years old and hasn't spoken a complete sentence in 2 years. His mother died in a car accident when he was 4. Since then," he gestured helplessly, 17 nannies. "You're number 18. Naomi felt her stomach drop but kept her voice steady. "Then I guess I'd better make it count." Her room was on the 2nd floor, elegant but impersonal cream walls, expensive furniture that no one had bothered to make welcoming. Through the window, she could see the Pacific Ocean stretching endlessly, gray and turbulent under storm clouds. Naomi unpacked slowly, placing her grandmother's photo on the nightstand, arranging her books on the shelf. Making space feel like hers had always been a survival skill. "Miss Carter." Mrs. Chen appeared in the doorway. "Mr. Waverly will see you now." In his study, Adrian Waverly stood behind a desk made of dark wood and sharp angles, his back to her as he stared out at the rain. He was tall, maybe 6'2", wearing a charcoal suit despite being home. His dark hair was perfectly styled, his posture rigid with control. When he finally turned, Naomi felt the full weight of his gaze, blue eyes that seemed to catalog everything about her in seconds. "Miss Carter." His voice was deep, carefully modulated. "Not warm, not cold, just controlled. Your references are impressive. 4 years with the Morrison family, 2 years before that with a special needs child. You understand what you're walking into. A grieving child who needs patience and consistency." "Yes, sir. Liam isn't just grieving. He's..." Adrian's jaw tightened. "Difficult. Violent sometimes. He breaks things. He screams. He runs." The last nanny left because he threw a vase at her. Did he hit her? No, but he could have. Naomi held his gaze. "Children don't throw things because they're violent, Mr. Waverly. They throw things because they don't have words for what they're feeling. Your son lost his mother when he was barely old enough to understand what death means. He's not difficult. He's drowning." Something flickered in Adrian's eyes, surprise, maybe, or pain so carefully buried he'd forgotten it was there. "You sound very certain." "I lost my mother when I was 7. I threw things too." The silence stretched between them, heavy with things neither of them knew how to say. Finally, Adrian nodded once. "Your contract is for 3 months, with extension possible if things work out. You have complete authority over Liam's daily schedule, meals, and activities. I'll be informed of any incidents. You report directly to me. When will I meet him?" "Now, if you're ready." Fair warning, he's locked himself in his room since this morning. Refused breakfast and lunch. Naomi picked up her canvas bag. "Then it's a good thing I brought cookies." Adrian led her through hallways lined with modern art and empty of life, up a grand staircase to the 3rd floor where Liam's room sat at the end of a long corridor. The door was closed, and from inside came the sound of something being thrown against a wall. "Liam." Adrian knocked firmly. "The new nanny is here. Open the door." Silence. "Then, go away." Adrian's shoulders tensed. "Liam, I'm not asking, Mr. Waverly." Naomi touched his arm lightly. felt him flinch at the contact. "May I?" He stepped back, his expression unreadable. Naomi knelt beside the door, setting her bag down beside her. "Liam, my name is Naomi. I'm not going to ask you to open the door if you don't want to. But I made cookies this morning, chocolate chip with sea salt, and I was hoping you might want to try one. They're still warm." "Nothing. I'll just leave the bag here, okay? And if you get hungry, they're yours. No strings attached. No demands. Just cookies." She stood, brushing off her knees. "I'll be in my room if you need anything. It's the one with the blue door, right next to yours." Adrian waited until they were back downstairs in his study before speaking. "That's your strategy. Bribery. That's my strategy. Respect. He doesn't know me. Why should he trust me just because you hired me?" Naomi met his eyes. "Trust is earned, Mr. Waverly, not demanded. And if he never comes out, never eats, then I'll sit outside his door every day until he believes I'm not going anywhere. Children don't need perfection. They need presence." Adrian studied her for a long moment, and Naomi felt herself being measured against some invisible standard she couldn't quite name. Finally, he said, "Dinner is at 7. You're welcome to eat with the staff or in your room. I usually eat alone in here. And Liam doesn't eat with anyone. Maybe that's part of the problem." The words came out before she could stop them, and she saw Adrian's expression harden. But before he could respond, Mrs. Chen appeared in the doorway. Her eyes wide. "Mr. Waverly, you need to come upstairs." They found Liam sitting in the hallway outside his room, surrounded by the contents of Naomi's canvas bag. He had the worn teddy bear clutched to his chest, tears streaming down his small face. The cookies were gone, every last one. Naomi knelt slowly, careful not to startle him. "Hey there. I see you found Mr. Buttons. That's my bear. Had him since I was about your age." Liam's voice was barely a whisper, hoarse from disuse. "What's his name?" "Mr. Buttons, because of the blue buttons for eyes. See?" She pointed gently. "What do you think? Does he look like a Mr. Buttons to you?" The little boy nodded, hugging the bear tighter. Then, so quietly Adrian had to lean forward to hear, "My mom had a bear. Daddy threw it away." Naomi felt her heart crack but kept her voice steady. "That must have hurt." "I'm sorry," he said, looking at it made him sad. She glanced up at Adrian, saw his face go pale, saw him realize what he'd done in his own grief. "You know what? Mr. Buttons used to belong to my mom. When she died, I kept him because he smelled like her. Like home. And yeah, sometimes looking at him made me sad. But it also made me remember the good stuff. The hugs and the bedtime stories and the way she'd sing off-key in the kitchen." Liam looked at her with eyes too old for his small face. "Did the sad ever stop?" "No, but it got smaller. Made room for other things. Happy things." She held out her hand. "Want to help me make dinner? I'm thinking grilled cheese and tomato soup. My grandma's recipe." For the first time in 2 years, Liam Waverly took someone's hand willingly. He stood, still clutching Mr. Buttons, and let Naomi lead him toward the stairs. Over his head, her eyes met Adrian's, and something passed between them, understanding, maybe, or the first fragile thread of something neither of them was ready to name. The kitchen became their sanctuary. Naomi taught Liam to butter bread and dip it just right into the pan, the butter sizzling and filling the massive space with warmth. Mrs. Chen watched from the doorway, tears in her eyes, as the little boy actually laughed, a rusty and certain sound, but real. Adrian appeared as they were setting the table, drawn by the unfamiliar sound of his son's laughter. He stood frozen in the archway, still in his suit, watching this woman he'd met hours ago coax his child back to life with nothing but patience and grilled cheese. "Mr. Waverly." Naomi's voice was gentle but firm. "There's enough for 3, join us." I usually work through dinner. Daddy, please." Liam's voice was small but clear, and Adrian's careful control finally cracked. His eyes went glassy, and he nodded once, not trusting himself to speak. They ate in the breakfast nook, rain still streaking the windows, and for the first time since his wife died, Adrian Waverly sat at a table with his son and felt something other than crushing grief. He felt possibility. "Why did you become a nanny?" he asked Naomi as Liam drew pictures on a napkin, humming softly to himself. She considered the question. "My grandmother raised me after my mom died. She cleaned houses, big houses like this one. I'd go with her sometimes during summer break. I'd see these kids who had everything money could buy but nobody really looking at them, really seeing them. I wanted to be the person who saw them. That's a lot of responsibility to take on. So is being a parent. But we do it anyway, right? Because some things are worth it. Adrian looked at his son, really looked at him, and saw a child he barely recognized. When had Liam gotten so big? When had his face lost its baby roundness? I've been failing him. You've been surviving. There's a difference. Naomi's hand moved toward his across the table, then stopped, and certain of the boundary. Grief makes us do things we wouldn't normally do. It's not failure. It's just being human. Their eyes held for a moment too long, and Adrian felt something shift in his chest, something he thought died with Catherine. He looked away first, throat tight. Bedtime, he announced, his voice rougher than intended. Liam, let's get you upstairs. Can Naomi come too? Can she read me a story? Adrian hesitated, then nodded. They went up together, an awkward little procession. Naomi chose Where the Wild Things Are from her bag, settling into the chair beside Liam's bed while Adrian stood in the doorway like a stranger in his own son's room. She read with different voices for each character, making Liam giggle. When she reached the end, and it was still hot, Liam was fighting sleep, his eyes heavy. Naomi, his voice was drowsy. Will you still be here tomorrow? I'm not going anywhere, sweetheart. I promise. That's what Daddy said about Mommy. Then she left. The words hit Adrian like a physical blow. He gripped the doorframe, unable to breathe, unable to move. Naomi glanced at him, saw him breaking, and somehow knew he couldn't handle this moment. Your mommy didn't want to leave, Liam. Sometimes things happen that nobody can control. But I can promise you this, I'm going to be here every single day until you're so sick of my cooking you're begging your dad to hire someone else. Liam smiled faintly. I like your cooking. Then I guess you're stuck with me. She stayed until he fell asleep, then found Adrian in the hallway, back against the wall, had tilted toward the ceiling. Tears tracked silently down his face. I told him she'd be fine, he whispered. That morning, Catherine and I fought about something stupid, I don't even remember what. She stormed out, said she needed space, told Liam she'd be back in time for dinner. I told him she'd be fine. His voice cracked. She wasn't fine. A drunk driver ran a red light. She died in the ambulance. And my son has spent 2 years waiting for her to come home for dinner. Naomi felt tears burning her own eyes. Mr. Waverly, Adrian, please, I can't be Mr. Waverly right now. Adrian, she said it softly, testing the weight of his name. You didn't kill her. The guilt you're carrying isn't yours to bear. Tell that to my son. He doesn't blame you. He's just scared of loving people who might leave, of trusting anyone to stay. She stepped closer. We're going to help him learn that some people do stay. That love doesn't always end in loss. Adrian looked at her, really looked at her, and for the first time in 2 years, he let himself feel something other than grief and guilt. He felt hope. The days that followed developed a rhythm. Naomi woke Liam gently, made breakfast together, pancakes, eggs, oatmeal with berries. They'd garden in the afternoon when the rain broke, Liam's small hands helping her plant flowers in the beds that had been neglected for years. She taught him to paint, to sing, to laugh without looking over his shoulder, expecting punishment for joy. Adrian watched from windows and doorways, unable to fully participate but unable to look away. The house that had felt like a tomb was filling with light and noise and life. Sometimes he'd come home from the office to find flower handprints on his marble counters, or music playing in the living room, or Liam's laughter echoing through hallways that had been silent for so long. He spoke today, Adrian told Naomi one evening, finding her in the kitchen after Liam was asleep. Actually spoke. Full sentences. Asked his teacher about volcanoes. Naomi smiled, washing dishes. He's brilliant. Just needed to feel safe enough to let the words out. He feels safe with you. He should feel safe with you too. Adrian leaned against the counter, loosening his tie. I don't know how to be what he needs. Everything I do feels wrong. Then stop trying to be perfect and just be present. Read him a bedtime story. Play a game. Mess up and apologize. That's what he needs, a father who's human, not a hero. What if I fail him again? What if you don't? She dried her hands, turning to face him fully. Adrian, you're so afraid of hurting him that you're not letting yourself love him. And he feels that. Children always do. Something in his expression shifted, vulnerability breaking through the careful control. I'm afraid if I let myself feel anything, I'll drown in it. The guilt, the grief. Then he stopped, shaking his head. The what? Nothing. It's nothing. But Naomi saw it in his eyes, the way he looked at her when he thought she wasn't watching. The way his breath caught when their hands accidentally touched. The way he found excuses to be in whatever room she occupied. She felt it too, this pull between them that neither of them wanted to acknowledge. Adrian. His name felt dangerous on her tongue. I'm your employee. We can't. I know. His voice was rough. I know. I'm not. This isn't. He ran his hand through his hair, frustration radiating off him. I'm sorry. This is inappropriate. No, it's human. We're both human. She took a breath. But Liam has to come first. Before anything else. Before whatever this is. I know. He met her eyes. But knowing doesn't make it easier. They stood in the kitchen, the space between them charged with everything they couldn't say, everything they couldn't do. Finally, Naomi broke the moment. I should go. Good night, Adrian. Good night, Naomi. But as she walked away, she felt his eyes on her back, felt the weight of possibility and impossibility tangled together. In her room, she pressed her forehead against the cool window glass and wondered what she'd gotten herself into. 2 months passed. Liam blossomed. The violent outbursts stopped. He spoke freely, smiled often, even started attending school regularly. But with his healing came a tension Adrian hadn't anticipated. The household staff whispered. His business associates raised eyebrows when he mentioned his son's nanny. At a charity gala he couldn't avoid, photographers caught him and Naomi together when she'd accompanied them because Liam refused to attend without her. The photo appeared in tabloids the next morning. Adrian Waverly, tech billionaire, standing close to a beautiful black woman in an elegant but simple dress. Liam between them, holding both their hands. The headline, Billionaire's New Love. Widower steps out with son's nanny. Adrian saw the tabloid on his assistant's desk and felt his blood turn to ice. He grabbed the paper, staring at the image that looked innocent and damning all at once. They weren't touching inappropriately. They weren't even looking at each other. But the intimacy was there in the way they both angled toward Liam, in the small smile on Naomi's face, in the softness of Adrian's expression, an expression he hadn't worn in public since Catherine died. Sir, I've already contacted legal about issuing a statement, his assistant Marcus said carefully. They're drafting a clarification that Ms. Carter is simply what? Simply the nanny. Simply the woman who gave my son his life back. Adrian threw the paper down. Get me PR. Now. But it was too late. By noon, the story had spread across social media, gossip sites, and news outlets. Speculation ran wild. Some framed it as a heartwarming tale of a grieving family finding hope. Others painted Naomi as a manipulative opportunist who'd seduced her way into a billionaire's bed and bank account. The racist undertones weren't even subtle. Articles questioned her qualifications, her background, her intentions. They called her the help in quotes dripping with venom. Naomi saw it all on her phone during Liam's art lesson. Her hands shook as she scrolled through comments calling her every degrading name imaginable. Strangers who'd never met her deciding she was a gold digger, a seductress, a scheming woman using a child to get to his father's fortune. Naomi. Liam's small voice broke through her spiral. Are you okay? You look sad. She forced a smile, locking her phone. I'm fine, baby. Just tired. Let's finish your painting, okay? Show me those ocean waves you've been working on. But she wasn't fine. That night, Adrian found her in the garden, sitting on a stone bench under stars she couldn't even see through her tears. He sat beside her without speaking, just offering his presence. I'm sorry, he finally said. This is my fault. I should have anticipated. It's not your fault. People are garbage. She wiped her eyes angrily. I knew this job would be hard. I knew people would judge. But I didn't expect them to be so cruel. I didn't expect to care so much that they are. About their opinions. About you and Liam. About this family I'm not actually part of. Her voice cracked. I'm falling in love with that little boy. And I'm terrified because I'm just the nanny. I can be erased from his life with 2 weeks' notice and a severance check. And it would destroy me. Adrian turned to face her, and in the moonlight, she saw something in his eyes that made her heart race. You're not just the nanny, Naomi. Not to him. Not to me. Adrian, don't. Why not? Because of what people will say. They're already saying it. Because you work for me. I'll fire you right now if that's what it takes. He reached for her hand, hesitated, then took it anyway. Catherine was my wife. I loved her. But she's gone, and I've been so afraid to live again that I forgot what living felt like. Until you walked into this house in the rain and reminded me, I'm your son's nanny. This whatever this is, it's inappropriate, unprofessional. I could lose my career. You could lose custody if someone argues I'm an inappropriate influence. And Liam, God, Adrian, think about Liam. What happens when this falls apart? Because it will. It always does. What if it doesn't? You can't promise that. She pulled her hand away, standing. You're a billionaire. I clean houses and take care of other people's children. We live in different worlds. And the moment you realize that, the moment I become more trouble than I'm worth, I'm gone. And Liam loses someone else he loves. I would never. You don't know what you'd do. Her voice rose, then fell. I've seen it, Adrian. Wealthy families I've worked for, promising their nannies the world, making them feel like family. Until they're not useful anymore. Until they ask for too much or know too much or just exist too visibly. Then they're erased. I won't be erased from Liam's life because we couldn't keep our feelings professional. She walked back toward the house, leaving Adrian alone in the garden with the truth she'd spoken. He sat there for hours, knowing she was right, hating that she was right. The next morning, everything shattered. Catherine's parents, Gerald and Patricia Hartley, arrived unannounced at 10 a.m., with lawyers in tow. Naomi was teaching Liam piano in the music room when she heard raised voices from Adrian's study. She told Liam to keep practicing and quietly moved closer to the door. This is unconscionable. Patricia's voice was ice. Our grandson being raised by some woman you hired off the internet. While you gallivant around town acting like Catherine never existed. I filed for emergency custody, Gerald added. That boy needs stability. A proper family. Not whatever this circus has become. You have no grounds for custody. Adrian's voice was controlled but lethal. Liam is thriving. He's healthy, happy. Speaking again because of that woman. Don't you see, Adrian? She's manipulated both of you. Wormed her way into your home, into Liam's heart. Probably into your bed enough. Adrian's roar shook the walls. Naomi has been nothing but professional and devoted to Liam. She's given him something neither of you nor I could hope. And you dare come into my home and accuse her of manipulation. We have photographic evidence, one of the lawyers said smoothly, of inappropriate behavior between you and your employee. A hostile environment for a child. If this goes to court, it won't go to court because you have no case. Then you won't mind if we take Liam for an extended visit. Let him see what a real family looks like. Let him spend time with people who loved his mother. Naomi heard the silence, felt its weight. Then Adrian's voice, quieter now, defeated. You can't use Liam as a weapon against me. We're not. We're protecting him from your poor judgment. She should have stayed hidden. Should have let Adrian handle it. But the image of Liam being torn away, being used as a pawn in adult games, made her blood boil. She pushed open the door. Excuse me, but I couldn't help overhearing. And I think Liam should have a say in where he spends his time. 4 pairs of eyes turned to her. Patricia's gaze raked over Naomi with undisguised contempt. The nanny speaks. How appropriate. The nanny who's spent every day for 3 months helping your grandson heal from trauma you couldn't be bothered to address. Yes, I speak. And I speak for Liam when no one else will. Naomi held her ground despite her shaking hands. You want to know what manipulation looks like? It's using a 6-year-old's grief to score points against his father. It's weaponizing his mother's memory to justify your own need for control. How dare you, how dare you? Naomi's voice went quiet, dangerous. That little boy lost his mother. He almost lost himself. And now he's finally healing, finally happy, finally feeling safe. And you want to rip him away from the only home he knows because you don't approve of who's helping him heal. Because I'm black. Because I'm the help. Patricia's face flushed. This has nothing to do with it, has everything to do with it. You looked at me and saw someone beneath you. Someone who couldn't possibly care about your grandson for anything other than money or status. But I love that boy. I love him like he's my own. And unlike you, I don't use my love as a weapon. Adrian, Gerald's voice was steel. Control your employee or we'll be back with a judge. She's not my employee. Adrian stood, moving to stand beside Naomi. She's family. The family Liam chose. The family he needs. And if you try to take him from us, I'll bury you in legal fees and court proceedings that will last until he's 18. Your choice. The Hartleys left with threats and fury. Their lawyers followed with briefcases full of worthless ammunition. When the door finally closed, Naomi collapsed against the wall, adrenaline draining away. I'm so sorry, she whispered. I shouldn't have interfered. I just made everything worse. You made everything clear. Adrian turned to face her. They'll be back. With more lawyers, more claims, more pictures. And my PR team is going to tell me the only way to protect Liam is to let you go. To distance myself. To prove you're nothing to us. Then do it. The words hurt coming out. If letting me go protects Liam, it won't. He needs you. He stopped, jaw clenching. What do you need, Adrian? She stepped closer, done with careful distance. Say it, you. I need you. And I'm terrified because everyone I've ever needed has been taken from me, and I can't survive losing someone else. But I'm more terrified of not trying. Of letting fear make me lose you before I ever really have you. You have custody proceedings coming. A media circus. Business partners questioning your judgment. And you're willing to risk all of it for what? For me. For us. For Liam having a mother again. For me having, he reached for her face, his palm warm against her cheek. For having someone who sees me. Not my money, not my company, not the perfect life everyone thinks I have. Someone who sees the broken man hiding behind all of it and doesn't run. I'm seeing him right now, she whispered. And I'm not running. He kissed her then, gentle and desperate all at once, his hands cradling her face like she was something precious he was afraid to break. Naomi melted into him, 3 months of suppressed longing flooding through her. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, reality came crashing back. This changes everything, she said. I know. The Hartleys will use it against us. The media will have a field day. Your board might force you out. And Liam is happy. For the first time since his mother died, he's happy. Because of you. And I won't apologize for that. Won't hide it. Won't let anyone make us feel ashamed for finding light in darkness. Footsteps on the stairs made them spring apart. Liam appeared, Mr. Buttons clutched under one arm, his face anxious. I heard yelling. Are Grandma and Grandpa taking me away? Adrian knelt to his son's level. No one is taking you anywhere, buddy. I promise. But they said I heard them say I couldn't stay with Naomi anymore. That she's bad for me. His eyes filled with tears. But she's not bad. She's the best thing. She makes you smile again, Daddy. She makes us feel like a family. Naomi's heart shattered and rebuilt itself in the same moment. She knelt beside Adrian, taking Liam's small hands. Your grandparents are scared, sweetheart. Sometimes grown-ups do mean things when they're scared, but they can't take you away. Your daddy won't let them. I won't let them. Do you promise? Promise you won't leave like Mommy. She looked at Adrian, saw him nod almost imperceptibly. I promise, Liam. I'm not going anywhere. Good. He hugged her fiercely. Because I love you. You're my Naomi. Over his head, Adrian mouthed. I love you too. And Naomi felt tears streaming down her face because somehow, impossibly, she'd found her family in the ruins of someone else's. But love, as she'd learned too many times, wasn't enough to stop the world from being cruel. The custody petition was filed 2 days later. The media exploded with speculation, some framing Adrian as a grieving father finding love, others painting him as a rich man taking advantage of his employee. Naomi's past was dredged up and twisted, her childhood poverty, her mother's death, her years working for wealthy families, all positioned as evidence of a pattern, always looking for a payday, always targeting vulnerable men. Adrian's board called an emergency meeting. His PR team presented 2 options: issue a statement distancing himself from Naomi, or prepare for his reputation to be destroyed. Business partners started pulling out of deals. Investors questioned his judgment. The pressure mounted from every direction. 3 weeks after the Hartleys' first visit, Adrian came home to find Naomi packing. What are you doing? What I should have done weeks ago. She didn't look at him, just kept folding clothes with shaking hands. The custody hearing is in 2 days. Every day I stay makes their case stronger. Makes you look more reckless. I won't be the reason you lose your son. You're the reason I have my son back. And I'll be the reason you lose him if I stay. She finally turned, tears streaming. Don't you understand? They'll paint me as some Jezebel who seduced you, who brainwashed Liam, who destroyed your judgment. And they'll win because society loves that narrative. The black woman corrupting the white billionaire and his innocent child. I won't let you lose everything because you were kind enough to hire me. This isn't kindness. This is love. He grabbed her suitcase, threw it across the room. I love you, Naomi. And I'm not losing you because some judge thinks our relationship doesn't fit their narrow definition of appropriate. Then what's your plan? Fight them in court while the media destroys us both. Watch your company collapse. Risk Liam being taken away and put in foster care because neither of us are deemed fit parents. Yes, if that's what it takes, then yes. Because the alternative is living without you, teaching Liam that love isn't worth fighting for, that we should hide what we feel because other people might judge us. And I can't do that. I won't. The door creaked. They both turned to find Liam standing there, tears on his face. Naomi, you can't leave. You promised. Baby, her voice broke. You promised. He ran to her, wrapping himself around her legs. You said you weren't going anywhere. You lied. Everyone lies. I'm not lying, Liam. I love you so much. But sometimes love means making hard choices now. Hard choices are stupid. Mommy made a hard choice and she died. You're making a hard choice and leaving. I hate hard choices. He was sobbing now, his small body shaking. Please don't go, please. I'll be better. I'll be so good. Just please don't leave me. Naomi sank to the floor, pulling him into her arms, both of them crying. Adrian knelt beside them, wrapping his arms around them both, and in that moment, the three of them were broken and terrified but together. I'm not leaving. Naomi whispered against Liam's hair. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I was scared and I made a mistake. But I'm not leaving. Not now, not ever. Promise. Liam's voice was muffled against her shoulder. I promise. On my life, I promise. Adrian's arms tightened around them both. We're going to fight this, together, as a family. And we're going to win. The custody hearing came 2 days later. Adrian walked into that courthouse with Naomi at his side, Liam between them holding both their hands. The photographers went wild. The Hartley's lawyer smiled like he'd already won. But Adrian had spent 48 hours preparing for war. He'd hired the best family law attorney in California. He'd gathered testimonials from Liam's teachers, his therapist, his pediatrician, all documenting the dramatic improvement in the child's well-being since Naomi's arrival. He'd compiled 2 years of documentation showing the Hartleys' minimal involvement in Liam's life after Catherine's death, their refusal to attend therapy sessions, their absence during the worst of his struggles. But his most powerful weapon was the truth. When the judge asked Adrian to explain his relationship with Ms. Carter, he stood and spoke from the heart. Your Honor, 3 months ago, my son was unreachable. He'd stopped speaking, stopped connecting, stopped being a child. He was drowning in grief, and I was drowning right beside him because I didn't know how to save either of us. Then Naomi Carter walked through my door, and everything changed. She didn't fix us with magic or manipulation. She fixed us with patience and presence and love. Real love. The kind that shows up every day even when it's hard. The kind that doesn't give up. He looked at Naomi, saw tears on her cheeks, and continued. Yes, I've fallen in love with my son's nanny. And yes, that complicates things. But my feelings for her don't compromise my son's well-being, they enhance it. Because she's taught me how to be a father again. How to be present instead of just providing. How to see my son instead of just managing him. And Liam is thriving. Not despite our unconventional family structure, but because of it. The Hartley's lawyer stood, objecting to everything from Adrian's emotional manipulation to the inappropriate nature of the relationship. He called Naomi to the stand and tried to tear her apart with questions about her background, her intentions, her pattern of working for wealthy families. Naomi sat in that witness box with her spine straight and her voice steady. You want to know why I work for wealthy families? Because that's where the nannies work, sir. You want to know my intentions. To help children heal. To give them the childhood they deserve. To be present in their lives in ways that matter. She looked directly at Patricia Hartley. I love Catherine too. I never met her, but I love her because Liam loves her. Because Adrian still loves her. I'm not trying to replace her or erase her. I'm trying to honor her by making sure her son grows up knowing what it means to be loved completely. The judge called Liam into chambers privately. What was said there remained sealed, but when the judge returned, his expression had softened. I've reviewed all the evidence, heard all the testimony, and spoken with Liam directly, he said. And I find no grounds for removing the child from his father's custody. Mr. Waverly has provided a stable, loving home. His son is thriving academically, socially, and emotionally. The relationship between Mr. Waverly and Ms. Carter, while unconventional, does not appear to be harmful to the child. In fact, all evidence suggests the opposite. He looked at the Hartleys. Your petition is denied. This case is dismissed. Patricia stood, face red with fury. This is unconscionable. That woman has poisoned Mrs. Hartley. The judge's voice was sharp. Your concern for your grandson is noted, but he has a father who loves him and is providing excellent care. I suggest you focus on building a healthy relationship with them rather than tearing down what they've built. This hearing is adjourned. Outside the courthouse, Adrian pulled Naomi into his arms in front of every camera, every reporter, every person who judged them. He kissed her deeply, claiming her publicly, and when they broke apart, he looked directly at the nearest camera and said, "This woman saved my family, and I'm going to spend the rest of my life making sure she knows how grateful I am." The media coverage that followed was split. Some outlets celebrated their love story. Others continued to criticize. But Adrian stopped reading it all. He'd learned that the only opinions that mattered were the ones inside his home. 3 months later, on a Sunday morning when rain pattered gently against the windows, Adrian found Naomi in the kitchen making pancakes while Liam sat at the counter doing homework. The scene was so domestic, so perfectly ordinary, that it took his breath away. "Hey," he said softly, wrapping his arms around her waist from behind. "Can we talk? After breakfast?" She turned in his arms, searching his face. "That sounds ominous." "It's not. I promise." They ate together, the three of them, laughing about Liam's story about a boy at school who'd brought a lizard for show and tell. After Liam ran off to play, Adrian took Naomi's hand and led her out to the garden where they'd had their first real conversation about feelings. "I've been thinking," he started, then stopped, suddenly nervous. "Actually, Liam and I have been thinking, together, about our family and what it means and what we want it to look like, Adrian. If this is about me moving out to make things look more proper, I understand and know. God, no." He pulled a small box from his pocket, and Naomi's breath caught. "This is about me asking you to stay forever. About making this official in every way that matters. About giving Liam the mother he deserves, and me the partner I never thought I'd have again." He opened the box, revealing a simple but beautiful ring in emerald surrounded by small diamonds. Catherine's favorite color was blue. Yours is green. This isn't about replacing her. It's about honoring what we had while building something new. Something ours. Tears streamed down Naomi's face. "Adrian, I love you, Naomi Carter. Not because you saved my son, though you did. Not because you brought light back into this house, though you did that too. I love you because you're brave and kind and you see people really see them and you make me want to be better. For you, for Liam, for myself. So I'm asking you, in this garden where you first told me I was being an idiot, will you marry me?" "You weren't an idiot. You were grieving. Is that a yes?" "That's a you're still not listening properly." She was laughing and crying at once. "But yes. Yes, I'll marry you. I'll marry you and Liam, and this complicated, beautiful family we've built." He slipped the ring on her finger and kissed her as rain began to fall, gentle, cleansing, perfect. Behind them, Liam's voice rang out from the house. "Did she say yes? Naomi, did you say yes?" They turned to find him running toward them, Mr. Buttons tucked under his arm, his face radiant with hope. Naomi knelt and opened her arms, and he crashed into her with the force of a hurricane. "I said yes, baby. I'm going to be your mom. For real, forever. I knew it." He pulled back, grinning. Daddy's been practicing his speech for 3 weeks. He made me time him 12 times last night. Adrian groaned. You weren't supposed to tell her that? Well, you weren't supposed to be nervous. Naomi loves us. She was obviously going to say yes. They stood there in the rain, the three of them laughing, and Naomi felt something settle in her chest piece. Not the absence of struggle, but the presence of certainty. This was her family. Not perfect, but hers. The wedding was small, held in the garden 6 months later. Liam was the ring bearer, taking his job so seriously that he practiced walking down the aisle 47 times. Mrs. Chen cried through the entire ceremony. Even the Hartleys attended, Gerald gruff but present, Patricia managing a tight smile that almost looked genuine. Naomi wore a simple white dress and flowers in her hair. Adrian couldn't stop staring at her like she was something miraculous he was afraid would disappear if he blinked. When they exchanged vows, his voice broke on "until death do us part," and she squeezed his hands, reminding him she wasn't going anywhere. I promise to love your son like my own, she said, voice steady despite her tears. To honor the mother he lost while being the mother he needs now. To build a home where grief and joy can coexist. Where love is shown in everyday moments, not just grand gestures. Where family is defined by choice, not just biology. I promise to never take you for granted, Adrian replied. To fight for us when things get hard. To be present, not just providing. To let myself be loved even when I feel unworthy of it. And to remind you every single day that walking into my life was the best thing that ever happened to us. They sealed it with a kiss that felt like coming home. A year after the wedding, Adrian made a decision that shocked the business world. He stepped down as CEO of Waverly Technologies, transitioning to chairman while promoting his coup to run day-to-day operations. The board thought he was insane. The media speculated about health issues or scandal. But Adrian didn't care about their opinions anymore. I spent Liam's first 6 years chasing success and missing his childhood. He told Naomi the night before the announcement. I'm not missing anymore. Work will always be there. But he's only 6 once. Only 7 once. And I want to be there for all of it. They used Adrian's freed up time to launch the Adrian Waverly Foundation, a nonprofit providing resources, counseling, and support for grieving families, particularly children who'd lost parents. Naomi ran the day-to-day operations while Adrian handled fundraising and partnerships. Together, they built something that honored Catherine's memory while helping others navigate the same darkness they'd survived. Liam thrived. By age 8, he was speaking at foundation events about his own grief journey, articulate and compassionate beyond his years. He still had hard days when he missed his birth mother with an ache that wouldn't quit, but now he had the tools and support to handle them. And he had parents who loved him without reservation. On Liam's 9th birthday, they adopted a little girl named Maya, 5 years old, shy and scared, her eyes too old for her small face. She'd been in foster care for 3 years, bouncing between homes where she was fed and housed, but never loved. Naomi saw herself in that girl the moment they met. We have room in our family, she told Adrian. Room in our hearts. If you're ready, I'm ready if you are. But Liam should decide too. He's the one getting a sister. They sat down with Liam that night, explaining that some children needed families just like he'd needed Naomi. That love wasn't finite, it multiplied. That they were considering adoption. Liam was quiet for a long moment, processing. Then, will she be sad like I was? Probably, Naomi said honestly. For a while. Grief doesn't disappear overnight. Then we should adopt her. Because we know how to help sad kids become happy kids. He looked at his parents with wisdom beyond his years. Nobody should be sad and alone if we can help them. The adoption process took 8 months. When Maya finally moved in, she was terrified and defensive, testing boundaries constantly. But Naomi had been there. She knew what it was like to be brought into a family and wonder when the other shoe would drop. She was patient and consistent, showing up every day, proving that love could be permanent. Slowly, Maya softened. She started calling Naomi Mama for months and tentative at first. Then with increasing confidence, she called Adrian Daddy 6 months later. And when he cried, she patted his face and said, "It's okay to be happy," said. Liam became her fierce protector, teaching her how the family worked, showing her that it was safe to take up space and ask for things and exist loudly. The two of them bonded over art Maya painted while Liam drew. both of them creating worlds where children were safe and loved and valued. 3 years after Adrian's proposal, Naomi stood in their garden watching her children play because that's what they were now. Hers in every way that mattered, and felt overwhelming gratitude. Not for the mansion or the money or even the fairy tale love story, but for the family they'd built from broken pieces. For the healing they'd chosen instead of hiding. For the courage to love again after loss. Adrian found her there, slipping his arms around her waist, resting his chin on her shoulder. "What are you thinking about? How lucky I am. How lucky we all are. I'm the lucky one. You walked into my house in the rain and brought sunshine." That's very poetic for someone who usually speaks in tech jargon and financial projections. He laughed, the sound free and genuine. "You've changed me. For the better. Made me remember that there's more to life than quarterly earnings and market share." Good, because quarterly earnings make terrible bedtime stories. They stood together in comfortable silence, watching Liam teach Maya how to catch butterflies' gentle hands, patient explanations. Real love. Mrs. Chen called from the house that dinner was ready. The children ran inside, laughing. And Adrian and Naomi followed, hand in hand, grateful for every moment that had led them here. Years later, when interviewers asked Adrian about his greatest achievement, he never mentioned his company or his wealth or the technology that changed industries. He talked about his family, about Naomi's courage in loving a broken man and his hurting child, about Liam learning to speak again, about Maya finding a home, about building something that mattered more than anything money could buy. And Naomi, when asked if she regretted leaving her career as a nanny, would smile and say, "I didn't leave my career. I just expanded my family. And I got to keep the best parts, the bedtime stories, the art projects, the morning pancakes, the everyday magic of raising children who know they're loved. I'm still doing exactly what I always wanted, seeing children, really seeing them, and making sure they know they matter." If you've stayed with us through this entire journey, if Naomi and Adrian and Liam and Maya's story touched something in your heart, we need you to do something. Hit that subscribe button right now. Because this channel exists to tell stories about real love, the messy, complicated, beautiful kind that doesn't fit into neat boxes or societal expectations. The kind that fights for what matters even when the world says you should give up. Drop a comment below and tell us, what would you risk for love? What family have you built by choice rather than biology? Your stories matter. This community wants to hear them. And please, like this video and share it with someone who needs to be reminded that families come in all forms. That love doesn't have to look traditional to be real. That sometimes the people who save us are the ones we least expect out, because at the end of the day, this isn't just a story about a billionaire and a nanny. It's about a man learning to live again after loss. A woman brave enough to love without guarantees. A boy finding his voice. A girl finding her home. It's about all of us who've ever felt broken and discovered that broken things can be rebuilt into something even more beautiful than before. Subscribe, comment, share, and remember that your story, whatever it is, deserves to be told too. The rain that started this story became their family tradition. Every year on the anniversary of the day Naomi first walked through their door, they stood together in the garden and let the rain fall on them, cleansing, renewing, reminding them how far they'd come. Liam and Maya would laugh and dance while Adrian and Naomi held each other, grateful for the storm that brought them together. Because sometimes the rain doesn't come to destroy. Sometimes it comes to wash away everything that doesn't matter, leaving only what does: love, family, and the courage to build something beautiful from the ruins of what was lost. And in the Waverly house, where silence once reigned and grief had built walls around every heart, there was now laughter and music and the everyday chaos of a family that chose each other. Not perfect, but theirs. Not easy, but worth it. Always worth it.